Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And I'm here to tell you that this is a story that I did not want to be talking about again today, but we got a huge news drop, and it's got to be discussed. Oh boy, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino are not happy campers. I promise you right now. I mean, they are not happy campers. Alan Dershowitz, who is one-time attorney for President Trump, he's the most famous attorney in America. He was on Sean Spicer's program and dropped something big. And I'm going to share it with you right now. You know, I told a caller this morning, it was Never Trumper Steve. And Never Trumper Steve, who's a liberal, he hates Trump for some reason. I don't understand why every American does not love President Trump. I mean that. How could you be against this guy? But he was trying to get me to talk about yesterday's story with Bondi. And I said, no. I said, when there are developments, I'll talk about it. We've talked about it a lot the last couple days. And when there's developments, we'll talk about it. Well, there's been a development from Alan Dershowitz, who knows the names on the list. All right. And he was a guest on Sean Spicer's podcast. I'm going to play you a portion of that in just a few minutes. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to spend time going through things that have been talked about for over a decade on Epstein. You know what happened. I don't have to tell you. But when there are developments, I am going to cover them. And this is a big one. I was a guest on Newsmax today, just a little while ago, wearing this shirt. It'll air over the weekend. And when you're watching over the weekend, you'll see me wearing this shirt that I'm wearing now if you're watching on YouTube, except the top button will be buttoned because I was on TV. And by the way, those of you that are Patreon supporters, this was not the program that I was talking about on Patreon yesterday, another TV appearance this week. And you Patreon supporters get a sneak peek about what happened with that. I made a video that's up there for Patreon supporters only. But anyway, we were talking about Epstein on Newsmax today, and this is a big and other things. This is a big development that Alan Dershowitz has brought us. And I'm of the opinion that President Trump brought Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in large part. He made them director and deputy director in large part because he knew, or at least thought they knew, about everything involving Epstein. Because both Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have been screaming from the tops of their lungs for the last 4 years about this list and these files. In fact, I saw yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, either yesterday or this morning, I saw a clip of Kash Patel on someone's podcast saying the FBI, now he wasn't the FBI director then, right? But, and he probably had no idea he was going to be. He said the FBI director has the list, he has the files, it's up to him to release them. Now he's the man. And they told us nothing to see here, move along. Okay, so let's get into this. This is Dershowitz. He was on with Sean Spicer on his podcast today. And, Alan Dershowitz, who was at one time a lawyer for the president, Donald Trump, even though he's a Democrat, he is a well-respected guy on both sides of the political spectrum. I've interviewed Alan Dershowitz multiple times on my program here, and he's someone I've heard about since I was a little kid. Of course, Alan Dershowitz is Jewish, and he was representing these Nazis who were being denied a permit to have a march. And I remember when I was a little kid, it was probably the early 80s, late 70s. Can't remember what year it was. They even made a TV movie about it. It was the first time I heard of Alan Dershowitz. And I couldn't understand why this Jewish guy was defending Nazis. And it was a First Amendment case. And I, as an adult, I understand it, but I was a little kid back then. But Alan Dershowitz, remember Reversal of Fortune, Klaus von Bülow, the O.J. Simpson trial. You know, he's very famous. He's very well known. He's very respected. And he knows the names on the list. And he talks about it in detail. Listen to this. This is Alan Dershowitz with Spicer. Now, if you'd like to call in, if you're watching live on YouTube, the number is pinned in the live chat. And a couple weeks back, I reformatted my podcast, and I am doing the podcast now live on YouTube. It's still on all the podcast platforms, okay? The Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. But if you watch me live on YouTube, regular YouTube or YouTube Music, you can call me live, okay? Because you're watching me live, and I give out the number toll-free, 888-465-2631, and share your thoughts. All right, so here it is. Here's Dershowitz with Spicer today. Oh, are they going to make me watch a commercial?
If you've been wanting to get your hands on...
Don't you hate that? Wait a second here. I gotta go back and mute it. All that build up, and then I have the commercial. Hold on. Let me go back. Because I don't know what commercial is going to play, so I can't just let it play, because it may be for something not good. Okay, there it is. All right. All that build up, and now here we go. Here's Dershowitz on Spicer's program.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely, and the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out, because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy, because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused, and I was able to prove it, and I was able to prove it through documents, and I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents. But
okay, so he's seen the list and all the names. Now, that doesn't mean that the list still exists. I mean, they could have destroyed the list. But there were other records and copies of this list that you could track through him, Alan Dershowitz, and all of his court actions. You know, the thing about this is the problem, okay? The whole Epstein matter is not something that I've covered all the time over the years. I know a lot of people have, and I haven't. And I haven't for a number of reasons, but one of them is what I told you guys so many times over the last week. Whatever information Epstein had, the deep state got it, okay? And they're using it to blackmail whoever they need to blackmail, all right? That's a reality of it. So whatever there was has either been destroyed or is archived, so far as the videos and everything. But as we can see with Dershowitz, because of the legal battle he had. And I remember during that legal battle was one of the times I had him on as a guest. He was livid. And I had this conversation. I said, if they can slander the most famous lawyer in America, people like me, I'm done. He's like, that's right, Brian. You have no hope, People like you and regular people have no hope when they can go after someone like me, and he beat it. And I remember talking to him about it at the time. So there are other cases where the list of names is documented in court records, including whatever court records are with these Dershowitz cases. Okay, so but the problem, I think there's a lot of, because there's so much frustration in what happened this week with Pam Bondi. I think there's a lot of I guess the way to say it is there's a loss of perspective and why so many people are upset. People are upset because they want these sickos brought to justice. That's number one, right? I mean, that's obvious. We all want that. But also, it's because we feel lied to by Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. Now, that Bartiromo interview from a couple of months back with Kash and Bongino, they looked pretty upset, and maybe they were being pressured by Pam Bondi. I don't know. But no matter where you stand on the Epstein matter, okay, we've been betrayed by Pam Bondi. I don't blame President Trump for this. I blame Pam Bondi. When I was on Newsmax today, one of the things I told him, I said, this case was a local case in Florida for many years before it was a national case. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida for 8 years. She knows this case inside and out. So for her all of a sudden to say there's nothing to see here, move along and forget about it, is insulting. And, I was talking right before I went live here on the podcast. I was talking to Steve Kane. We're talking about, Butler, because the first anniversary of the assassination attempt on President Trump is coming up in a few days. And we know nothing about it. Yeah, they suspended these 6 Secret Service agents, but they still haven't gotten to the bottom of what happened in Butler. And President Trump's second term is running flawlessly. And everyone under him and every cabinet secretary, they're doing everything they were brought in to do and then some, except Pam Bondi and the Justice Department. Okay, that's it. Everybody else is doing a perfect job, including the president, except Pam Bondi and the Justice Department. And what we wanted, and when I say, I mean the MAGA movement, I'm not, I don't consider myself a spokesperson for the MAGA movement, but I think what I want is what most MAGA people want. We wanted real investigations. And so far with as the death with Epstein, we didn't want Pam Bondi and Kash and Bongino to go through the records that the Chris Wray FBI put together. We expected Dan Bongino to be leading investigations as like the agent in charge, as the deputy director of the FBI, and go back and investigate and have a detailed investigation into how this was allowed to happen, investigating the guards and do financials on them and their families and friends to find out if anyone came in with some mysterious money out of the blue. What happened there? We wanted and we still want these things, by the way. We want a detailed new investigation into Butler from beginning to end. What happened? This shooter, we know that the same people that killed Kennedy were involved in Butler, if you catch my drift, plus Ukraine. So, we want a new investigation with people we trust under Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, and under people that President Trump trusts to investigate Butler and find out what really happened. Who was this guy? How did he get on that roof? Or the roof of a building filled with police officers and federal agents? How was he up there when everybody in the crowd saw him with the rifle? And even the sharpshooters far away. How was this allowed? Who put him there? Who was that mysterious federal agent who went up on the roof and took pictures of him? Remember that? What about those phones that he had, all those phones with Ukrainian numbers on, at least one of them? Who's he talking to in Ukraine? And if you remember, he was also communicating with somebody that was in the cell tower vicinity of the FBI headquarters in D.C. But we haven't seen any investigations. And this is where the frustration has been coming from MAGA people towards Pam Bondi and the Justice Department. We haven't seen any investigations. The only thing we've seen is them tell us that they've read over the files that were put together by the corrupt people that are responsible for all these things in all these cases. And it looks like cover-ups. And I don't know if it's because pressure's being put on Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, or if Bongino's all talk and doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know. But I know this. This is not what we expected, is it? This is not what we expected. And Dershowitz, I hope this clip of Dershowitz that I share, I hope that people find out about this and he's on other news media talking about it, because he's seen the list and says a list exists and he knows the names on it, but because of the process, he's bound by confidentiality. He can't reveal it. But can he be compelled to reveal it by Congress, by the president, by the Attorney General of the United States, by the director of the FBI? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But don't you think if you were Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, you'd want to talk to Dershowitz today and find out about that? If they really don't have the list and never had it, don't you want to talk to Dershowitz and find out how to maybe get it? But they're not even interested. Now, if you're watching live on YouTube, give me a call. Our number is toll-free and pinned in the live chat. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, it's Jack again from Sarasota. How you doing?
Hey, Jack.
I am sorry to hear that you guys are still in a tizzy over this Epstein list thing. I know it's kind of breaking all your supporters in half. You have those who support Trump and think he's completely innocent, and those who are finally starting to see the light and see that.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true. No one is seeing the light on Trump and turning against Trump. That's just liberal fantasies. Now, people are upset with Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi, but not President Trump. That is not true. I know you want to think that, but it's not the case.
Brian. Actions between Trump and Epstein, it's not even funny, Brian.
No,
There really are.
No, we're not here to go through your lies. And if you want to talk about the new developments, we'll talk about them. If not, I'm going to hang up on you. I got other people on the line and a lot of things to talk about.
All right, well then tell me your new developments that show that Donald Trump is not related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Not related? No, they're not related. Oh my goodness. Related? He's got his talking points confused. Oh, my goodness, these people. All right, now listen, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you are watching on YouTube Live and want to call in live, the number is pinned in the live chat. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. You guys have been hearing me on the radio for years, and everybody knows whoever comes to my office, I care about you 100%. We are treating auto accidents. In an auto accident, there's a lot of things that occur in an accident. Anywhere from headaches, neck pain, shoulder pain, arm pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, knee pain, elbow pain, sciatica. People use the word whiplash all the time. That's it for neck pain. Come in for an evaluation. Let me look at you. Let me evaluate you. And then we can go from there. Auto accidents, Uber, and Lyft accidents, we do take care of, and also slip and falls. So you have any issues, give me a call or come into my office. There's always no cost for the consultation.
Call Dr. Appleton and take advantage of that no-charge consultation right now. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. Online, AppletonCairo.com, and say bye-bye to your pain. What happens when the world's most powerful superheroes decide enough is enough and end a war themselves? In the new comic, The Pantheon, the premier superhero team takes a bold stand, and the U.S. military doesn't take it lightly. One general declares war on them. Now, Earth's mightiest protectors face their most dangerous battle yet. Not against aliens or monsters, but against the very system they tried to protect. The Pantheon is explosive, bold, and more relevant than ever. It's about power, politics, and the price of doing what's right. Created with pure passion by Daniel Kessler, The Pantheon is an action-packed series with unforgettable art. And the best part, it's only 25 cents in the Google Play Store. Order your copy right now and see what happens when heroes cross the line. The Pantheon, from author Daniel Kessler, in the Google Play Store. Order your copy today.
If you're in business, you know that first impressions are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast. Dating after leaving a high-demand religion? It can be messy, awkward, and sometimes hilarious. Excommunicate is the podcast where faith deconstruction meets modern dating. Hosted by Jessa, a former Mormon, and Austin, a never Mormon, navigating Utah's dating scene. Together, they cover the highs and lows and the unexpected turns of love beyond strict belief systems. From purity culture baggage to real connection, red flags to green flags, Excommunicate tackles all that and more with no dogma, just raw, relatable stories. New episodes drop bi-weekly and feature personal stories, hot takes, and conversations that blend the deeply personal with the universally funny. Excommunicate, available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you get your podcast. Excommunicate, connecting hearts, not dogma, because Cupid has no creed. Tune in right now.
All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, I just came across something that is also new. There's some more breaking news on this. And as I said at the beginning, so far as the Pam Bondi Epstein affair, all this, the only time you're going to hear me talking about it really are when there are new developments. I'm not going to fall into some trap like that idiot that just called me. And rehash everything that's been talked about for years and years and years. We're talking about new developments. That's called news, man. But let me recap what I started with, and then I'll share the new piece of information that I just found during the commercial break. Okay, now, this is new. The great, famous lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, was on Sean Spicer's podcast today, and Alan Dershowitz says that not only has he seen the list, he knows the names that are on it. Listen.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely on the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents, but these documents are being suppressed.
Okay, so that's pretty big there with Alan Dershowitz. I mean, so not only does he say there's a list, he's seen the list, and it's in these court documents for this court case that he had clearing his name. Now, don't you think that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongino should go talk to him and try to get some of that? Now, this is what I saw during the break. This is Bill O'Reilly over on Fredo's show on News Nation. Listen to this.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be.
Okay, well, they can put things out in a redacted way. So here we are. So, you know, what's going to happen? You know, my guess is at some point this is all going to come out, okay? There's no way with all the pressure that and all the new things that are coming out. These are just things that came out today, right? And this isn't any rehash of anything that's been talked about for years and years. These are things that just came out today that I've shared this morning or this afternoon on the podcast. And there's a lot of pressure being put on President Trump to get Bondi to do the right thing here, and eventually it's going to happen. And it needs to happen. You know. Now, with all that being said, you know, no one who's truly MAGA blames Trump for any of this. Everyone's angry at the three at the Justice Department, and I think that's fair. Now the Democrats, the left, and ever Trumpers are going to try to create a false narrative of that, but that's just not the case. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Craig. I'm Casey calling from Virginia Beach. Just want to let you know that the two last audio recordings you tried to play did not go live.
No, that's not true. If you watch me, I have two different live streams going. If you watch the one with the green behind me, you can't hear the audio. You have to watch my other stream for the audio sound bites.
Okay, and how would I get that?
Go on YouTube, search Brian Craig Show. It'll come up. You'll see me. You get the benefits of all the green screen, and you get to see the videos and hear the audio and everything.
Awesome. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, not a problem, not a problem. I know it's confusing for people, but I'm very accessible. Now, I want to move on to some other things, and this is, and I want to say a final thing about this whole Pam Bondi thing. I would like to see more people do what I'm doing. Talk about the new stuff that comes out, like I'm doing right now, okay? Rehashing old stuff and getting into debates, that's what the Democrats want. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to talk about new developments with the case and the situation like I'm doing now. All right? You guys understand the difference? I think you do. You're smart people. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, man, how does it feel like to defend a pedophile?
I'm not doing that. How does it feel?
You
How
are,
does
my
it?
guy. You
How
are.
does it
You
feel?
are, my guy.
How does it feel to be
Hey,
okay? I was going to ask him a question, but he won't shut up. Thank you for your call. Now, moving on to some other issues. You know, what's going on with Zohan in New York? You know, this guy becoming the mayor of New York City is so bad, guys. I mean, this is the worst of the worst things that could happen. You know, you get a guy in there who is the mayor of New York who's a communist. Don't believe this democratic socialist business, okay? There's no such thing as a democratic socialist. That's just some made-up thing. These democratic socialists are communist, okay? Look at this. Look at what this isn't communism. This is in the Gateway Pundit. And you can go to the Gateway Pundit and read this article. I posted it on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. Over the course of just a few weeks, I'm reading from the Gateway Pundit. It has been revealed that New York City communist and Democrat nominee for mayor, Zohan, has embraced nearly every stereotypical Marxist slogan that has ever been uttered. That's so true, isn't it, as you see more about him? It's not just his words either. His entire political and policy platform is communist. Now it is being reported that during the shutdown period, Jogn called on people to, quote, seize luxury homes of the rich for the homeless. Now let's remember, Jogn, his parents are very rich. His mother is an Oscar-nominated director. She currently directs things for Disney, both film and television. And his family, his father's a snooty, communist-hating, America-hating professor at Columbia University. And Jogn went to a private school in New York City that had a tuition of $69,000 a year. A year. That was for elementary, middle school, high school. $69,000 a year. I don't even know if my entire college education cost that. And I'm not kidding. You know, I went to State University here in Florida. Anyway, let's go back to the Gateway Pundit. $69,000 a year. Typical communist, right? Fox News reporting this, and this is also in the Gateway Pundit article. Socialist New York City mayoral candidate Jogn once called to seize luxury homes to house homeless during the shutdowns. Jogn, the Democratic Party's candidate for NYC mayor and a self-proclaimed socialist. You know, this thing about socialist and democratic socialist, they're all communist, okay? They just know that even as liberal as some lunatics are in this country, they won't openly accept a communist. He's once again garnering backlash for previous comments he's made with language steeped in radical socialist and communist ideology. Now, Jogn's only, 33? He's a kid. So this isn't like stuff he did 30 years ago. This is stuff he did, in some cases, weeks and months ago. Jogn is getting blasted for calling on the government to seize luxury condos to house the homeless during the pandemic. It doesn't get more communist than that, guys. I mean, haven't you seen Dr. Zhivago? They seized his house. All property is community property. There's no private property. That's Communism 101. The unearthed remarks stemming from a March 2020 social media post followed news of separate rediscovery remarks from Jogn touting the need to decommodify housing. What is decommodify? I don't understand all these commie words. Decommodify housing through replacing luxury condos with communal-style living. That would include things like shared laundry facilities and food co-ops. Do you think he's volunteering his parents' luxury home to be given to the homeless? The oligarchs who want us to return to work to goose the stock market. Now, keep in mind, his family's rich. He went to a $69,000 a year private school. The stock market are the same ones with thousands of luxury condos as investment properties, sitting empty while New Yorkers die on the streets and in shelters, Jogn wrote on social media in response to a news report claiming the first homeless person in New York City with COVID had passed away. They write here that Jogn makes AOC look like a moderate. Yeah, doesn't he? Makes AOC look like Ronald Reagan. And they've got all the receipts, all the tweets. That's right. You know, the thing about the left in this country is they're just stupid. You know, years ago, like during the Clinton years, it's not that the liberals were ever smart. They've always been, off a little bit and not too well informed and been wrong on all the issues. But it used to be different. During the Clinton years, Democrats were wrong on everything, of course. But they didn't hate the country. They didn't hate white people. They weren't leading an invasion into the United States of illegals from other countries. They didn't have members of Congress who were communist and openly communist and supporting terrorists. You know, Democrats during the Reagan era were opposed to the arms buildup that Ronald Reagan was doing, but they weren't siding with the Soviet Union, our enemy at the time. And now you look at Democrats. When is the last time you've heard Democrats talk about new issues where they're standing up for Americans? They stand up for South Americans, but do they stand up for United States of Americans? Never, ever. Unless it's the homeless of New York who Jogn wants to seize people's private homes and give them to the homeless people. Could you imagine? Let's just say you did that. I mean, it's crazy, but let's just say you did that. Those beautiful luxury condos, like the one Soros lives in and all that, what do you think they would look like 2 weeks after Zohan gave them to the homeless? They'd look like crack dens. They'd all turn into crack houses. That's what they would turn into. Well, the first thing they would do is they would loot everything. Then they would pillage everything. And then they would, just start drilling holes in the walls or whatever. Who knows? But those luxury condos would be condemned buildings within weeks if he had his way. But, it's not that much of an extreme thing is going to happen in this country, because the American people wouldn't stand for that. However, this guy is dangerous. He's very dangerous, because if by some craziness he became the mayor of New York City, he would begin a new trend. And I know a lot of people say, well, New York survived Dinkins and he was a disaster. You would rather have Dinkins back as mayor of New York than this guy. I mean, this is the beginning of the end of, the greatest city in the world, New York City, the hub of the world. It's very scary stuff. And we really got to stop calling him a socialist or a Democrat socialist. Call him what he is. And that is a communist. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. My name is Brian Craig. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. We'll be right back.
By day, Dr. Darcy Chastain is a respected academic. By night, she's a ruthless killer. In Shattered Depths, the first book in the Seaside Murder series from author Fawkes Alexander. Available on Amazon, a brilliant but deadly woman walks the razor's edge between control and chaos. She's kept her secrets buried deep until now. The FBI is closing in. A relentless detective is on her trail. And with every move, Darcy's perfectly constructed life begins to crack. Shattered Depths is a dark, twisted serial killer thriller packed with psychological suspense, sharp turns, and a female anti-hero who will do anything to survive. It's brutal, addictive, and unforgettable. Make sure to add Shattered Depths to your must-read list and your next book club lineup. Shattered Depths is available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited. Order your copy right now. Shattered Depths from author Fawkes Alexander. Are you longing for something ancient, something real? Author Gisela Rose invites you on a sacred path of remembrance, healing, and transformation in the book Elixir, A Journey into Ancestral Alchemology. Available on Amazon. Ancestral Alchemology is a method that blends both astrology and genealogy. Elixir will guide you to uncover the hidden patterns etched into your lineage and within your body. When you read Elixir, you'll explore how earth, water, fire, and air shape your inner landscape and discover how to transmute memory into embodied wisdom. Whether you're a mystic, healer, seeker, or simply someone yearning to reconnect with the roots beneath your feet and the rhythm within your bones, Elixir is your next must-read book. Order your copy right now on Amazon, available in Kindle and paperback. Step into your power, reclaim your essence. Order your copy today. Imagine stepping into your kitchen and it's filled with vibrant vegetables, fragrant spices, and the joy of creating meals that nourish your body and the planet. In the new book, Plant-Powered Plates, Sustainable Plant-Based Pleasures for Every Palate, from author Bain Kalange. Available on Amazon, you'll discover 100 delicious plant-based recipes designed to fuel you with energy and simplify your transition to a balanced vegan lifestyle. From mindful eating and nutrition essentials to a 30-day meal plan, the author is passionate about healthy, sustainable living and has a love for simple, nourishing meals and mindful habits. He wrote Plant-Powered Plates to help others just like you enjoy the benefits of plant-based eating and shares practical, actionable ideas that'll inspire a balanced, thoughtful lifestyle, one plate at a time. Order your copy of Plant-Powered Plates right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Kindle Unlimited.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Okay, now, this is some good news. Brennan's the former CIA director. He was the CIA director for Obama. And Brennan and Comey, the current CIA director, Radcliffe, has sent over to the FBI. There's a criminal investigation going on right now with Comey and Brennan over Russiagate and all the spying and harassment they did against President Trump. And I got to tell you, this guy looks scared. A lot of people don't know this about Brennan. He was Obama's CIA director. He's Muslim and he speaks Arabic. And prior to being CIA director, he was a member of the Communist Party. How do you even get a security clearance with that in this country, right? He's a very radical guy. I know he looks like some old rich grandpa, but nothing could be further from the truth. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Owen. I'm calling from Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out your take on the Trump-Epstein situation.
We got to be more specific than that. I don't know that's a big area, so you got to be more specific.
What do you mean big area? Like,
it's a big story. It's been going on for 20 years. What?
How do you feel like he's handled the Epstein stuff?
I think Trump's done fine. The problem is Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino are incompetent.
Really? Did you watch the interview where he kind of like one of the reporters asked, hey, they asked Pam Bondi actually. They asked Pam Bondi about the Epstein stuff, and then Trump's like, hey, we got bigger stuff to worry about. Why are you asking?
Well, we do have bigger things to worry about, absolutely. There are bigger things to worry about.
You don't think like a giant billionaire sex ring is like a worry?
No, there are. It's not that it's not something to worry about, but there are other things more pressing, and he's the president.
Okay, so you don't think this? You think like the elites like literally trying to like cover up sex trafficking, like thousands of victims? If you let it thousands.
He's not covering up anything. He's not covering up anything.
Yep.
Nope.
Okay, no. I'm not talking about him covering up anything. I'm just talking about the claim where he dismissed the reporter's concerns regarding the Epstein stuff. He was just like, why are you asking about this?
Well, first of all, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean he's covering things up. You know what's going to end up?
I never said he was covering stuff up. I said he dismissed the reporter's concerns.
Maybe,
and he made them
but see, because
and he belittled him
because you're not thinking in a big picture kind of way. Are you
big picture? This is the biggest picture you can possibly have.
Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence, and maybe you'll agree. What's happened here is most people that are not MAGA, that are not Republican, right? They think like you. Okay, there's a cover up, and they must be covering it up because it's filled with Republicans and things like this. What's going to happen is Congress and Democrats in particular are going to start to call for an investigation into this. And President Trump is going to allow this. And what we're going to find out is those names on that list, when they eventually come out, they tend to be from the left. But he's the president of the United States. He's not he's not a police officer, and he does have more important things to worry about, like trying to end this war in Europe with Russia and Ukraine, as an example. This is not the top of his job list.
Just to be clear, this is not about that there aren't other things that we need to worry about. This is him dismissing the reporter's concerns. Do you agree what Trump said during that interview was either stupid or wrong to belittle the reporter for asking about Epstein?
Nope. And by the way, it wasn't an interview. It was a cabinet meeting. And it was a cabinet meeting that turned into a press conference. It wasn't an interview. It was a cabinet meeting.
I misspoke, but this is literally regarding a reporter asking a question. Is that clear?
Well, most of the reporters at the White House and the president have an adversarial relationship because they're so nasty to him. So when he goes in, he's angry and doesn't like them. I don't blame him. They've been lying about him for 10 years.
Even a Fox News reporter asked Pam Bondi regarding this topic, and it was equally.
The chances
everybody's concerned about
there's a good chance that Pam Bondi is going to be fired over this. People are pissed. Conservative MAGA voters are pissed, and they're letting it be known that they're pissed. And Pam Bondi, chances are she's going to be fired.
So you don't think okay, just a question. What do you know about Epstein's and Trump's relationship?
There is no relationship. and there was no relationship.
So you
And
don't
I'm not,
think,
but
like,
I'm not, but like I
wait,
said, I'm
wait.
not going to talk about all this old Epstein stuff from years ago. I'm only talking about things as they're breaking.
Okay, old. This is all old. This wasn't a can't promise or anything. This was all old. This is like irrelevant stuff. Nobody brought this up. This is just like irrelevant details.
No, rehashing the whole story that's been talked about for over 10 years.
Rehashing. So was this?
They had no
or was this
relationship.
not a Trump
They had no
campaign promise?
relationship. When Trump found out what Epstein was about, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and banned him. That's a fact.
Okay. Did they ever have a relationship before that?
Everybody in Palm Beach had a relationship before they knew what he was about.
A close relationship?
No.
Epstein, I
Nope.
believe he
Nope.
is on record saying
Nope.
that him and Trump are close friends.
Of course
for
he
well
was
over 10
bragging. Of
years.
course he was bragging to let people think that he knew.
Bragging. So
Yeah,
when
letting
you
people
TikTok
think
Trump
that he
on
was friends
same-
with Trump.
on the
Trump was
same
not friends with
interview.
him. Trump was not. Now he
On the
knew him.
same-
There's a difference between
he was
between having an acquaintance and knowing someone well, right? There's acquaintances and there's people you're close friends with.
Close friends. So
They were not close
friends.
friends. They were not close friends.
What's his name on the flight logs? Yes or no?
A lot of people are on the flight logs. So what? What does that
No,
mean?
yeah, I know. I'm just asking.
Rich,
would you go
what
on
Epstein
an
did,
acquaintances?
what Epstein, no, Trump didn't know what he was about then. That's what you don't want to accept. You don't know somebody's a criminal until you find out.
For 10 years. So if you know somebody for 10 years and they wouldn't give off any signs of being this like absolutely
Not necessarily,
despicable
no.
piece of human trash.
No.
Not necessarily. Okay,
No.
so you're saying you could be completely oblivious,
When
not
people,
know anything, and there were literally
when
whispers. There were
people are
whispers
doing
about
crimes, excuse me, when people are doing crimes, they don't typically brag about it and let the world know. Hey, listen, appreciate the call. I'm just going around in circles with him. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Bart. I'm calling from Killeen, Texas, outside Fort Hood.
All right. What's up, Texas?
Yeah, I'm just, most of my family's conservative. They've been voting George Bush. They voted conservative their whole life. And in hindsight, everything he said about George Bush before I get on to Trump, everything that they said about Bush back then, he's great, he's wonderful, blah, 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 blah. Hindsight is 20/20 because now look back.
That's right.
I'm seeing the same process again, the same Republicans, my family. Now, here's what I want to get on about Trump, about how you don't see that he's protecting pedophilia and this whole Jeffrey Epstein. Think about this, okay? He's on video, man. He's friends with the Clintons, right? He talked all that crap about Hillary for president, Hillary for president, Hillary for president. And I agree with the stuff she did, erasing the emails. She wasn't even supposed to have those servers. It's crazy, the Benghazi. I get that. And then at the end, when it's all over, he's on video saying, I can't believe they tried to arrest me, this and that. We're friends. I didn't do that to her. He's been friends with the Clintons. That's not a secret they were friends.
No, the Clintons are different. Okay. President Trump's talked about this.
But hold on.
No, let me respond to what. Hold on, no. Listen, we got time. I want to respond to your point. Okay, then you can make another point. President Trump's talked about this. Okay, not just Clinton. He was friends with a lot of politicians, Republican and Democrat, and donated to them all, including Nancy Pelosi. He talked about this a lot in the first campaign, and what he said, and it's true. He was a builder in the building business, and to get things built, he had to pay off these politicians, and that's why he did it. He was a builder in liberal cities like New York, so he had to be.
But my point is, I get what you're saying. He has to have certain ties, but there's also a saying that says, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, or show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are.
I don't know what you mean.
So let me see. But look, he's got Epstein, who is his friend.
No, they were not friends. They were not friends. They were not friends. They were not friends.
Hold on. He's on video saying they're friends. You can't say that's not true when he's on video saying that.
This is
Why are you doing this?
Because Epstein hung around that celebrity, wealthy Palm Beach crowd, and he was just being nice. He was an acquaintance. They knew each other. But this is an interesting thing. Are you suggesting? Let me ask you. Are you suggesting that if you know someone, even if you're friends with them, and then they go on to commit terrible crimes, that you are guilty by association for other people's activities? I don't understand that thinking.
Well, to some degree, because of how many people he was friends with that ended up. Hold on. This is 3 big people he's friends with, and the Clintons, I'll say that too. You know they got some nasty shit going on in Haiti and the stuff that Clinton's been to the island or any time. I know what he is. But this is 3 people he's associated with, right? But on top of that, he wasn't just, listen, I know he didn't go to the island, but he flew on the jet, which they were doing stuff, the girls on the jet. Look at the name of the jet.
No, Donald Trump didn't do any. Listen, we know. Finish. Okay, finish.
Let me talk. You keep cutting me off.
Calm down, man. Calm down.
I'm not finished. You keep cutting me off. I keep trying to get to a point.
Go ahead.
Okay?
Go ahead.
Now, in the affidavit, the girl said that he was even in the mansion in New York. Trump was even there hanging out a few times. They said, yeah, he wasn't touching nobody, but he was there. He knew. The point is he knew what these people were doing the whole time. It's a big club. They're all the same.
This is okay. Here's the deal. Finish your point, then I'm going to respond. I want to respond to what you're saying. So finish your point, and then I'm going to respond. You want to finish?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then I'll respond.
My point is, and it's easy to see, like, when I was watching him in the interviews leading up to this and the podcast and stuff like that, I mean, he's going on for 20, 30 minutes talking about immigration. I agree with him. Like I said, I don't vote. I've never voted. I'm 45. I've even been to war and everything for this country. I don't vote because I know what the presidents have done to put me in situations and stuff I've seen. So I've seen, like, the outcomes of what these people do.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, man, that it's like if you keep voting, the more you vote, the more you participate in this stuff. It's like the more you.
First off, that's idiotic. That's idiotic. So you're not. So this is what you don't understand or want to accept. President Trump is.
I understand. I'm not the one that votes.
Hey, listen. I'm gonna respond to you, but I appreciate your call. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick break, and then I'm gonna respond to what he said about Trump. We'll be right back. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Frank from West Palm. How you doing there?
All right,
Brian,
Frank.
You were absolutely correct. LaPorta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just completed my roof last week. And LaPorta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof on my residence. Tom LaPorta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring me that he had my back in all phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. LaPorta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA, family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection, and they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece. And one last thing before I forget, they were the least expensive quote that I received out of 4 quotes for roofing. I thank Tom LaPorta Roofing for all that they do.
Wow, Frank. Well, thanks so much. Tom LaPorta at LaPorta Roofing. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works with every type of structure, residential, commercial, municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. Also, don't forget, Tom LaPorta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's a single-family home or an HOA with over 200 units. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom LaPorta's cell phone, 954-604-4600. 4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. Frank, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Brian. You have a wonderful day.
All right, we're back. Now, I'm going to respond to that last caller, but before I do, I'd like to remind you, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the program on whatever platform you're listening to me on. And Patreon supporters, you have access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes, as well as a lot of content that I post nowhere else, including videos and other things that my wife and I both post to our Patreon page. And and nobody else has access to those ever. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. And on YouTube, our top Patreon supporters' names are up on the screen as I go through them right now. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, but we're going to highlight right now our top Patreon supporters: SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, Tina, Wes, and Sue. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And the direct link is patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Okay, a couple things with the last caller. Number one, the last thing you should do is not participate. I mean, if you don't participate, why, then don't stop griping, okay? President Trump is unlike any of these other politicians. The other presidents we've had in both parties are a bunch of fakes, phonies, and frauds, okay? George W. Bush is a war criminal. President Trump ends wars. He doesn't start them. Look at what he did with Iran. Took care of Iran without any troop movements and everything else. It was amazing what he did. And, the thing with President Trump, you've got to understand, he's not like these Washington insiders. Now, when he was a full-time construction guy and building things, he had to donate to all these Democrats because there's nothing more corrupt than the construction business in New York, Las Vegas, Jersey, California. Come on. So that explains all that stuff. Now, so far as these associations, President Trump has been a celebrity all his life. He's rich and famous. And there are people out there who like to be around celebrities. And if they're rich, they buy their way in. Sometimes they join a club. Sometimes they pay to go to a party. All these things that people do that are obsessed with celebrities to get in, it doesn't mean that celebrity is friends with them. And, another thing, too, that's very important for people to understand is when you're a celebrity, you encounter a lot of people. Look at what they did with Stormy Daniels. He took a picture with her, like celebrities do. I take pictures with people that listen and watch me. I've done this my whole life. People have pictures of me. When I take a picture with someone who's a fan, a listener, watches me online, which happens all the time, I don't know their background. I don't do a background check, and it certainly doesn't mean I'm having sex with them, but they apply this standard to President Trump. So no, they were not friends, okay? He was a celebrity groupie. Now, Victor Davis Hanson, I referenced this morning on the morning show, but I want to play this. I didn't have time to play this morning. Victor Davis Hanson is probably the most brilliant conservative thinker alive today, isn't he? You guys agree with that? Everyone who's conservative has a lot of respect for Victor Davis Hanson. He's absolutely amazing. And he was interviewed by Glenn Beck, and he has a lot of inside knowledge and talked about the Epstein event. And I want to share this with you. And, a lot of you aren't going to agree with Victor Davis Hanson because you hate Trump and you want to try to assign something to him. But I saw this morning, and I think Victor Davis Hanson gives us a perspective we really haven't heard on the whole Epstein matter. This is Victor Davis Hanson on the Glenn Beck Show yesterday.
What do you think this is really about?
I think it's pretty clear now that Epstein had no talent other than blackmail, and he was not a financier. He was not a captain of finance at all. What he did is he invited very powerful people to his island or his New York home, filmed them, and then he bribed them. And he shook them down and said, I'm going to be your quote unquote financial advisor. And in exchange for that, I'm not going to release all that stuff. And whether, there were some pretty big people. So why
isn't it being exposed?
Because I think I think there are people in the establishment. I don't know if they partook in his sick things he was doing, but they feel they have some association with him, and they have they gave him money to invest when there was no reason to hire someone like that.
Okay, so, that's a new perspective on the thing, and he was running a shakedown. A lot of these rich guys do. There was a guy here in Florida, I can't remember his name. It was a very high-profile case, too. It was not long after the Bernie Madoff stuff, and he had another Ponzi, and he owned restaurants and bars, and he owned a bar that a lot of rich guys went to, and he hired like these Hooters type, model girls there to seduce these men, and they would have sex with them, and everything was recorded, and then they would do a shakedown, and he would bring them into a meeting and tell them what he had, and he would shake them down for 10% of their net worth. So if they were worth $10 million, he would make them pay him $1 million, because if their wives found out, it would cost them everything. So that tactic is very common, and Victor Davis Hanson is the first person that I heard bring that up and put that into some perspective. That's something you don't hear too much, huh? Well, listen, my name's Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, available on all podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for calling. We've had some good calls today. And if you're on hold, well, you'll catch me the next time I go live, because when I'm live on YouTube, I'm always taking live calls. So if you're new to the program, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.